Hello friends, this is CA Suraj Jhunjhunwala. I hope you guys are doing well, keeping safe, and I am also doing well. So this is particularly a beginning of a podcast session. So idea of this podcast session is to cover various technical topics in auditing and accounting. Today I gonna start with a podcast session on Ind AS 12 income taxes. At times I have found students and professionals find it difficult to understand the concept of deferred tax. So what is deferred tax? Deferred tax, to understand the deferred tax, we need to know that there are two types of books maintained by a business entity. One is books as per statutory requirement of companies laws, etc., and another books as per the tax requirement. So if a book is prepared under companies law, then all the expenses, all the asset recognition, all the liability recognition, all the incomes will be measured as per companies laws, what companies law suggests or what Ind AS will say. But if we are preparing, if you have to calculate taxable profit or tax asset, tax liability, then we need to follow the Income Tax Act. Now we need to understand that while we are paying the tax, we will pay the tax as per the profit computed under Income Tax Act, not as per the books. Now it gonna happen that the profit or loss calculated as per books might differ with the profit or loss calculated as per Income Tax Act, and the difference can be on account of majorly two reasons: temporary difference and permanent difference. So permanent difference is something like an allowance and disallowance in Income Tax Act, which we don't get in books. So for example, if a penalty is paid, we might get a deduction in books, we might show it as an expense in books, but it might get disallowed in Income Tax Act, that it will never be allowed. So this is a permanent difference. And another example of permanent difference can be, for example, a company is engaged in a scientific research and it's claiming 150% deduction. In the books, we will only get expense claimed as 100%. We can't claim 150% expenses in the books. But under Income Tax Act, we are getting the benefit of extra 50%. So that extra 50% of deduction is a permanent difference. So permanent difference never gives rise to deferred tax. And you will understand why it doesn't give once we will understand the temporary difference and how it gives rise to the deferred tax. So temporary difference is nothing but a allowance or disallowances which is either preponed or postponed in the tax books or vice versa. So basically, friends, we will take an example of depreciation. It's a very common example in case of deferred tax. For example, we purchase an asset for 1 lakh rupees. Now, when we purchase an asset for 1 lakh rupees, there will be a separate rate of depreciation as per Companies Act, and there is a separate rate of depreciation as per Income Tax Act. What Companies Act said that, for example, you will get 25% depreciation each year for the coming 4 years. But what Income Tax suggests is you will get 50% depreciation for next 2 years. Now friends, let's try to understand what will happen in the books. Now in the books as per Companies Act, you will get an expense allowed 25,000 for first 4 years. But in Income Tax Act, in the year 1 and year 2, there will be 50,000 allowable expenses, but in year 3 and 4, there will be no deductions. So for year 1 and 2, you will pay less tax. In year 1 and 2, you will pay less tax because you are getting a higher deduction in Income Tax Act. But in year 3 and 4, you will pay higher tax. But if you combine all 4 years, you are getting 1 lakh rupees deduction in income tax as well, and in books as well you are getting 1 lakh deduction. Now let's try to understand from an investor's point of view. Now an investor sees a financial statement, and he sees that, okay, the depreciation allowed in first to 4 years was 25,000 each. There was no change in the depreciation, but company was paying lower tax in the first 2 years and higher tax in the third and fourth year. So it won't be justifiable to the investor, and it won't tally with the matching concept as well. Because if we are allowing similar expenses in each of the 4 years, then there should be a similar tax expenses as well in each of the 4 years, which is a matching concept basically. But if we go as per Income Tax Act, of course there will be lower tax in first 2 years and higher tax in 3 or 4 years. So basically what we are doing here is we are deferring our tax. Basically we are not saving our tax. In the first 2 years we are not paying tax, or basically we are paying lower tax, and in the third and fourth year we are end up paying higher tax. So we are effectively deferring our tax payable. So what Ind AS 12 accounting suggests that you defer the tax. So you are deferring the tax because you need to pay higher tax in the future. So basically it is a deferred tax liability. Means you have deferred the tax, you have deferred your liability. So you need to recognize that liability in the books today. Though you have deferred it for the future third and fourth year, but you need to recognize that liability as on today, and you will recognize, for example, the deferred tax liability at the end of year one. At the end of year one would be our tax basis 50,000, because you have already deducted 50,000. Now in the future, in Income Tax Act you will get 50,000 deduction, but in the Companies Act you will be getting 75,000 deduction after allowing 25,000 of depreciation. So in the Companies Act you are getting 75,000 of deduction. In the Income Tax Act you are getting lower deduction of 50,000. So basically on 25,000 you are going to pay tax, higher tax. So let's assume a tax rate of 30%. So you will create a deferred tax liability of 25,000 into 30%. Approx 7,500 will be your deferred tax liability, and the entry will be deferred tax expense to deferred tax liability. So this is particularly the concept of temporary difference, which gives rise to deferred tax asset or deferred tax liability. Our example covered deferred tax liability, but the permanent difference never gives rise to deferred tax asset or liability. All right. Now we will understand the formula. Basically we will understand the formula of deferred tax. So if there is an asset, if we are creating a deferred tax on asset, then we need to see what is the carrying amount in the books and what is the tax base. In our example we saw that 75,000 was the carrying amount and 50,000 was the tax base under Income Tax Act. So we need to see for an asset what is the carrying amount and what is the tax base. If the carrying amount is higher than the tax base for an asset, means you are going to get lower deduction in future in Income Tax Act. So for that you will create a deferred tax liability. But if the carrying amount is less than the tax base, means you are going to get higher deduction in the Income Tax Act in the future, means you will pay lower tax. That creates a deferred tax asset. All right, that will create a deferred tax asset in books. But for a liability scenario will be different. Now to understand how a deferred tax is created for a liability, we will take an example of interest payable. You would have studied 43B, wherein interest payment to scheduled banks are allowed only on payment basis. So once you make the payment, only you can claim it as an expense under Income Tax Act. But in books you claim it on accrual basis. So let's on 31st March you have 100 rupees of interest accrued. You have claimed it as an expense in your books, and amount is accrued. Because you have not paid, the expense won't be allowed in income tax act, and there is no liability in income tax act. So tax base in income tax act is 0, but in books you have a liability of 100. Now just try to understand in layman's language what will happen in future. Once you will pay the amount, you will get a deduction in income tax act, but you will not get again a deduction in your books under companies act. All right. So in future, once you get deduction in income tax act, you will claim it as an expense and you will pay lower tax. So if you are paying lower tax in future, it will create what? It will create a deferred tax asset. So for a liability, if a carrying amount in books is greater than the tax base, it will give rise to what? It will give rise to deferred tax asset. We will take another example. For example, a loan. For example, in India, you have studied about effective interest rate. For example, you have taken a loan of 100 rupees and you have paid a processing fee of 10 rupees. Then in books you will recognize liability of 90 rupees. So total inflow minus outflow, so that will be a liability of 90 rupees will be recognized in books, but your effective interest rate will increase. But for the tax base, the liability will be 100 rupees. But the coupon rate will be allowed as an expense in income tax act. So let's say the coupon rate is 10%. Then in income tax act, every year as an when you pay the interest at the rate of 10%, the same will be allowed as an expense. But in your books of account prepared under companies act, you will claim expense as per effective interest rate. That will be definitely be higher than the 10%. Let's say in our example it's 11%. All right. Now just imagine in income tax act, in future you will get lower deduction, but in books you will get higher deduction. Right. So because you are going to get lower deduction in income tax act in future, you should recognize what? Deferred tax liability. Now here the carrying amount is lower than the tax base. Carrying amount is 90 rupees and tax base is 100 rupees. So on 10 rupees you will recognize deferred tax liability. So this is the concept of deferred tax asset and deferred tax liability, and we also call it a balance sheet approach, because we consider asset and liability for calculating deferred tax assets or liability. We don't go to profit and loss account to see what expenses are allowed, what expenses are disallowed in this year, and what will be allowed in future. We don't go there and analyze P&L. In account, when it was accounting standard, it was a P&L approach, but now when it is a balance sheet approach, we actually see balance sheet assets and liabilities. All right. So how we will recognize deferred tax assets and liabilities? What will be the second leg? So we need to see the related expense or the related income, where it goes. If the related expense or income goes in P&L, then the impact of deferred tax asset creation or liability creation will again go in P&L. But if deferred tax is created on a certain item which moves through OCI, for example, equity instrument classified through fair value through other comprehensive income, now its fair valuation always moves through OCI. Now if you create deferred tax asset on those equity instrument, you also need to move the impact of deferred tax assets or liability through OCI only. And if any item moves directly through equity, for example dividend, then the impact of deferred tax again will go through directly through equity only. So this is the recognition of deferred tax asset or liability. Now there are certain conditions which you need to see while recognizing deferred tax asset, because deferred tax asset, for creating an asset you need to be prudent. For creating liability according account of conservatism or prudence, you can say, okay, you create liability, but for creating any contingent asset, you need to be very 100% sure what industrial suggests. So following the concept of prudence, you need to see, so whenever you have a deductible temporary difference, for which you are going to create a deferred tax asset in future, whenever you have a deductible temporary difference for which you are going to create a deferred tax asset, so for that you also need to say whether you have sufficient taxable temporary difference. So taxable temporary difference gives rise to deferred tax liability, and deductible temporary difference gives rise to deferred tax asset. So whenever you have a deductible temporary difference, you need to see whether you have a taxable temporary difference which will reverse in the similar pattern, so which have a similar reversal pattern. So when the deductible temporary difference will reverse, you need to say in the similar years, if the taxable temporary difference will reverse, then you will actually be able to realize your deferred tax asset. Because it might happen that you are telling that, okay, I will enjoy benefit of paying lower tax in the future, but what if you don't have any income? What if in tomorrow you don't have any taxable profit? You won't be able to enjoy your deferred tax asset by paying lower tax, because even if you don't have any deferred tax asset, you will not pay any tax because you don't have any taxable profit. And even if you have a deferred tax asset, you will pay zero tax. So for recognizing deferred tax asset, you need to say whether you will be able to take the benefit of that deferred tax asset in the future or not. Second, what you can see, whether you will have a sufficient taxable profit in future. If you will have a sufficient taxable profit in future, then also you can recognize deferred tax asset. And third thing is, if you can do certain planning strategy, making tax planning tax strategy, then also you can create deferred tax asset. All right, so this was all about deferred tax asset or deferred tax liability. I hope you guys understood. Again, I'll recap the topic. So creation of deferred tax depends upon two factors. First, we need to say whether the difference is on account of temporary difference or permanent difference. If the permanent difference is there, you will not create any deferred tax asset or liability. Now, if there is any temporary difference, you need to say whether the difference is taxable temporary difference or deductible temporary difference. Taxable temporary difference, for example, if you have a carrying base of an asset higher than the tax base, means you will get lower deduction in tax in future. So you will end up paying higher tax in future. So